Hello, Mr. Bajador. These are your fabulous 190 SL carburetors, and I was going to try to show you your carburetor number B6138. Hope you can see that. Not sure where it's going to focus at. Anyway, I can't see the other carburetor number because obviously it's up underneath there. But these are your carburetors. You can tell that these are late style carburetor because they are very unusual in that they have this very thick base right here for the fuel inlet to fit into and prevent it from stripping out, which was a common problem in the earlier cars. These have been completely rebuilt and tested, and I'm going to test them again for you. I'm going to go over a few things that's going to help with the installation. I don't know that you'll be doing the installation, but this video you can show the people that will be doing it. Be sure to use a wrench here and a wrench here when installing or removing the fuel fitting, the fuel line. Stabilize this fitting and move this one and keep this one from ripping out the threads in here. Idle mixture screws right here, the idle mixture screw. Trying to get this thing where I can see what I'm doing. Idle mixture screw. This is the for the first barrel. The car idles on the first barrel only, and therefore this idle mixture screw is the only one that works. This mixture screw is a dummy. Don't touch it. It does nothing. This idle mixture screw, be sure whoever works on these things knows that if you screw this in to get your base adjustment, screw it in lightly and then back it out one turn. There used to be 1.5 turns, but we've remachined these holes to be more precise, and it's just one turn. Sorry about that. Linkage, make sure your linkage is all in good condition, new ball sockets. That makes a big difference. The only other adjustments that you can make is going to be these adjusting screws right here to adjust your choke cables up and down. And these things work fabulously right here, and if there's any problem it's going to be in the cable, because the cable comes straight down and wants to pull these things straight up when in fact they are moving on an arc like this. And so make sure your cable is lubricated as best it can be to prevent friction. Another thing, I'm going to set the idle where I think it feels good and sounds good, but if you do readjust your idle with your idle screws right here, the setting for the little screw between the carburetors may need to be readjusted. And what this does is it acts as a mechanical. Let's see if I can get a better picture here for you. Excuse me. Let's see if this works better. Alright, what we're doing is this acts as a mechanical closing of the second barrel butterfly, and there's a pin underneath here that is acted upon by this screw, and this screw is attached to the first barrel carburetor. So first barrel throttle shaft. So if you decide to adjust your throttle, your idle, as this changes and this changes, then it's possible to have changed there's a very minute clearance between this pin and this set screw, and the way you check it is by holding the throttle closed. You just barely move the second barrel counterweight, and I'll demonstrate this when we're running the engine. Although the engine is technically cool, it's 100-degree day out, so we still have some residual water temperature because it's very hot out here. But I'm going to run these things, get them up to temperature, and show you how nicely they operate. One of the things that's going to help is the use of a synchrometer I use the BK1 to 35. This thing works perfectly for these carburetors right out of the box. And our expected values, we want the second barrel to remain closed on idle, and we'll check that by the amount of air processing through here or not processing through. Anything below 2 is what we're looking for in terms of closure here. And then what we use the unit for is we use this to synchronize, balance the air flowing through both barrels of the first barrel of each carburetor. And let's see. So let's see. We've already got fuel up there. We're going to give it a couple of pumps here. We choke it. Switch on. My twisty came off here. I have to have a twisty on there to keep the choke. This is the slave choke, and it just flops around, so if you're running the carburetors without the choke cable attached, this thing will flop around and cut the fuel off. Alright, and then let's see, before we start now we think about it, we've got this little teeny set screw back here. Yeah, you can see a little teeny set screw. The clearance between this and the lever it impinges on is 15 thousandths, and I'll set that before I send the carburetors to you, and that is what activates the choke. And the choke is, in addition to this lever right here, actually choking blocking off the airflow, what you'll notice is this moves. See your throttle moves? Well, what you're doing is you're increasing the idle speed when you choke the carburetors, and that little set screw back there is what activates that. If that thing ever falls out, that little guy ever falls out, you won't have any choke mechanism, or any fast idle, and it makes the car hard to start. So, all right, let's see if we can do this again now. Okay, switch on, choke. I had flooded it. Not what I intended to do. I did not need to give it the extra 2 shots of fuel beforehand and then choke it. It's still very warmed up. They're still full of fuel. Now we'll let this thing warm up, because you cannot adjust the carburetors or check them for adjustment until they are warmed up. All we're doing is waiting for the thermostat to open up. Thermostat opened up. Now we can tune some carburetors. Alright, first thing we want to do is make sure our second barrels are seated. They're still tight from the machine work, so we just push on the second barrel just to make sure it's that's seated. Now we're going to check our airflow. And this is off. It's on the car. You can see it barely moved. On the engine rather. Come over here. Barely moved up to about 1.5. So we're in good shape there. Now we're going to use it to synchronize our carburetors. First of all, we're going to disconnect the linkage. So that we have, so the carburetors are running independently. And we need to hold the throttle up like this. Hold it closed. And then we can measure our actual airflow. Well, let's see, I gotta get some focus on the camera here. Alright. Alright, so we got, that's not it. Alright, processing, we got 4 right there. And we come over here, the other carburetor. And I got a return spring on this one, so I don't need to hold it up. This is, as you can see, it's 4 as well. So these are both an adjustment. Now, if you don't have the synchrometer and you need to, you want to adjust the idle, these are both the same thread pitch. So what you're going to do is screw this in or out, same amount on both screws, and that should achieve the desired result. So let's say we're going to crank this quarter turn. Come over here. To this one, quarter turn, and then we will check our adjustment. Again, we're going to hold this up, and then alright, we are now at 5. You can see that better here. Now at 5. Let's go over here and check the other one for flow. And that one is also at 5. See how nicely that worked? So, next thing you need to do is idle mixture screw. And that is very sensitive. We've had these remachined, so these are very, very sensitive now. What you're doing is screwing this in and out until the engine stumbles. And then you get the midpoint. Now let's see if we can, maybe you can hear it as it I'll exaggerate it so you can really tell. Yep, I see it start to drop off, almost going to die. Now we back it out till we get our maximum running, until it starts to drop off again. Alright, you can hear that. Now you don't have to go to those extremes because you obviously can hear it, because the adjustment will not, the screw will not adjust itself such that you have to go to those extremes. You're just going to be doing very minute adjustments on your engine. These have to be adjusted to your engine, because your engine is going to be drawing and working a little bit differently than mine. And so feel free to have these adjusted while the engine's operating. Very precise. Too much. That sounds good. Same thing over here. That's too much. Starting to back off, starting to bog down. So you can see the very, very narrow band in which to operate. Very narrow. And then once you think you've got them where you want them, the next thing to do is to utilize this turnbuckle feature. And what you're going to do is you're going to want to get the linkage adjusted perfectly, so when you snap it in place, it doesn't adjust the running of the carburetors. It doesn't affect the idle. And you can do that by going back in and checking these guys right here. So we're still at 5 here. Yeah, that one adjusted just a smidge, so we're going to back it off just a smidge. Again, that's going to be in your linkage. Alright, we're at 5 here. 5 there. Alright. Now we got a real nice idle. We got an indicated 1,000 RPM with tax off, so I think we're doing about 800. And this sounds like a really good idle, but you guys make it anything you want. And then you just rev it up. Nice response. Back to 1,000. And we're going to turn it off for a second. And we're going to do a hot start. Nice. Nice. Very, very nice carburetor, sir. Really nice. Got all factory gaskets in here. This was the only non-factory gasket we were forced to use. They just discontinued that one. Thank you, Mercedes. Other than that, factory gaskets here and underneath here. Oh yes, another feature I'm very proud of is how dry these carburetors are underneath here. You'll notice no fuel. No fuel. So very nice, and the throats are dry just with a little residual in there, which is what they're supposed to be. I can't say anything else about them except these are really nice carburetors, and thank you for letting me do them, and thank you for your patience. I appreciate your courtesy. Thank you.